Hi everyone, let's solve the third question from today's weekly contest, that is substring XOR queries. So in this question, you are given a binary string S and a 2D integer array queries where queries of I is equal to first I and second I. So for ith query, what we will be doing is we will be finding the shortest substring of S whose decimal value val yields second I when bitwise XORed with first I. So basically, we have to find a substring, right, whose decimal value when XORed with the first element of this queries array, right, it should be equal to the second element of this queries I, right, and the answer to the ith query is the endpoints, zeroth index substring, that is left I and right I. So that is the start and the end of that particular substring in this string S. So we have to put that inside of the answer if we find any such value, right, which yields a value which will be giving us value equal to the second, right. So other, if we don't find, then we simply have to put minus one there if no such substring exists. So if there are multiple, choose the one with the minimum left I. Okay, so then we have to return an answer where answer of I is equal to left of I and right of I to the answer of the ith query. So let's see what the question is. So the question is pretty straightforward, right? So we are given this queries array, right? And here in this array we have two values, right? We are given two values. So the first value we will be calling as first, right? And the second value we will be calling as second, right? So now what we have to do is we have to find a value in the substring S, right? Whose decimal value when XORed with the first element of this particular query will give us value equal to second, right? So right now it is 0, right? So we have val and first is 0 and it should be equal to 5. So in this substring, what we have to do is we have to find a substring, right, whose decimal value will yield us this. So we know when we XOR a value with 0, right, and the value that we get as resultant, so this value should be the same as this, right? Also, we have another property of XOR that if we do A XOR B, if it is equal to C, then C XOR B, if we do, it is also equal to A. Or if we do A XOR C, it is equal to B, right? So this is a property of XOR. So that is what we'll be using here. So essentially what we are saying is you have to just XOR the values present inside of this queries, right? So if we just saw 0 and 5, what we will get? We will get 5, right? So now we have to find a substring that will give us this value, right? So here, if you can see that from here to here, if we traverse in this substring gives us a value of 5. Its decimal value is 5, right? So we have to take its start index, that is 0, and its end index, which is 2, and we have to put it inside of our answer array, right? Let's make our answer array here. Now let's take the second query. If we take the second query, we have 1 and 2. So as we saw from the XOR property, if we are saying if we are saying that if we want val XOR first equal to second, we can simply say that we can find val as first XOR second, right? So that is what we have to do. So if we XOR, so what we will do, we will have val is equal to, we have to simply XOR 1 with 2. So what is this value? This is 1 and 1 0. We will be getting 1 1, right? That is 3. So we have to find whether this 3 value exists in this string or not, right? So if you see from this particular index, if we see, we have 1 1, right, which is equal to, its decimal value is equal to 3, right? So we will take its index also, which is 2 comma 3 basically. So we will include it inside of our answer array. So for each particular query, we have to take the substring of S, which yields to the XOR of these values, right? XOR of these two values inside of a particular query, right? So that is what we are essentially doing. And also it is mentioned in the question, if there are multiple answers, then we have to take the minimum of left I, right? So what we have to do is, let's say if we also had a 1 here, right? If this substring was this, so we have a 3 here and a 3 here, right? But we have to take with the minimum one. So in our answer, we should include 2 comma 3 and not whatever this value is, right? We will not include those this 3, right, when there are multiple answers. So now the question has become pretty sorted out, right? Why? Because simply first what we have to do, we have to traverse in this queries array, and we have to simply take the XOR of a particular query, right, of those two values, and then what we have to do, we have to find that corresponding value in the string s, right? So now the only task is to take all the substrings of s and check whether they equate to this particular value or not. Now, if you see the constraints, right, here is the tricky part. If you see the constraints, wait, if you see the constraints, here we have first and second I less than equal to 10 raised power 9, right? So we can say that as the number is less than 10 raised power 9, can we say that we can represent in less than 32 bits? Right? So if we can represent it in less than 32 bits, so from this string s, right, we will be considering all the substrings of length less than equal to 32. That is what we will be doing. So we will not be considering all the numbers present inside of this s, right, all of its substrings, right, because the length of the string s, if you see, is very large, that is 10 raised power 4. So if you sit and consider substrings of a string with length 10 raised power 4, they will be a lot, right? But the requirement is only to get less than equal to 32 bits, because the XOR that we will be getting, the highest value can be will be less than 10 raised power 9, which can be represented in less than 32 bits, right? So now it has become easier, and now I hope you have understood how we will be, taking the substrings out of this S without getting a TLE. So that is considering this as less than equal to 32. All of the substrings with length less than equal to 32 we will take, and let's just, so how will we do that, right? So we can simply create a map, right? Why a map? So that, because we actually need the position, right, the indexes of that particular substring, the start and the last index. So we'll simply create a map. So the first value will be the value of that particular decimal value of that particular substring, and the second value of this map will contain a vector int which will have two values, right? That is the start and the end index of that particular substring, right? Then what we will do, we will simply iterate in this queries array, and we will check if that particular value, after XORing these values, if that value exists in this map, then we have an answer, and we will take this vector out of this map. And if it does not exist, then simply we have to put -1 inside of our answer. So let's see the code part. So here what we have done, we have created a map, right, m with int as the first element and vector int as the second element. So now we will be traversing inside of this loop, right, within s dot length, and we are considering all the substrings less than equal to 31, right? Then what we are doing, inside of this bit we are calculating the numeric value, right, for that particular substring, right, and then we will simply put it inside of the map. Also we will, as there can be multiple answers also, right, but we have to consider one with the minimum left eye. So what we will do, we will check if that value was already present inside of the map, then we will not put the same vector inside of the other vector inside of the map, right? We will simply move ahead, right? So here we are checking if it is not present in the map, we will put that value inside of the map. If it is already present, then there are no issues, right? We will simply come out of this loop, and after we have traversed this loop actually becomes O of n into 31, which is basically O of n, right? So this is O of n complexity it will take, and then after we have created all the substrings, we have considered all the substrings of size 30 less than equal to 32, right? Then we have created this vector ans. Then we are iterating inside of all the queries, and we are storing the values inside of the query, right, the two values, and then we are finding whether they are present in the map or not, right? If they are present, what we will do, we will push that particular vector that we had, right, that is the start and the end index of that particular substring inside of our answer, right? If we don't find anything that is equal to this particular value, we will simply push back -1 and -1, and then we have returned our answer. So that is how we have to solve this question. So here the time complexity will be whatever the query's length is, and plus for finding that particular target, O of log n, right? So if you use unordered map, that will become O of n, so it will basically become O of n, right? And you can also do it in O of n log n.